Hello, Claire.
Hello, Kate.
I'm so glad that you've joined me today. Um, Claire Taylor from Footsteps Children's Services. Um, Tell me a little bit about you and your passion. What led you to set up Footsteps?
I think I'm Newcastle born and bred. I love Newcastle. I love particularly have a heart for the West End of Newcastle. If you, I feel like a bit of a stick of rock if you cut me up, and I'll have the West End of Newcastle in the middle of me. I kind of set up my first kids club when I was about 16. I saw a kind of a need in the area for stuff for young people and set up my first kids club then. And then when I was about 17, I heard the starfish story. Have you heard the starfish? Everyone have heard. No,
No,
the whole
no.
man walking along the beach. So I was about 17. It's about 30 years ago. I heard the starfish story, which was a man's walking along a beach and he sees hundreds of starfish washed up on the beach. And there's a little boy
Yeah.
throwing the starfish back in, you see. And he stops the little boy and says, "What are you doing?" He says, I'm helping the starfish. And he's like, "There's hundreds of them. You're never going to make a difference." And he
Mhm.
picks it up, throws it back in and says, "Well, it made a difference to that one." And at 17, I think that really kind of impacted me about wanting to make a difference within a community. I then, when I was 18, took a trip to Romania. I worked with street children in Romania for a couple of weeks. And then when I was 21, I went to Brazil and spent a month in Brazil working in the favelas in Brazil, which really, on reflection, was me coming from my position of privilege to go and experience something and getting probably more out of it than what I actually put into it. But at the time, you felt like you were doing
Mhm.
some good. But on reflection, really, I probably benefited more from that than I gave to it. I knew I wasn't going to move to Brazil. But I did know that I wanted to make a difference in the city that I lived. So I kind of came home and worked in education. I worked within the community, done all sorts of things really, but my heart has been very much with children and families.
Mhm.
So my passion for working within the community lies with wanting to make a difference, particularly with people living in poverty as well. That's always been very much part of my heart for what I do, really, is to make a difference, a child at a time and a family at a time.
Oh, perfect. I love that. So tell me about when you decided to set up your organization.
I'm going to keep this as brief because it's a bit of a drawn out story. So Footsteps started 20 years ago. We're in our 20th year. And when I joined the organization, it had been running for about a year. But it was run by a national charity. So we had one nursery. That national charity pulled out of the Northeast in 2007. And in 2007, I had the opportunity then to either close the doors, take my redundancy and go, or re-register and do it myself. So that's what I did really, and that's when Footsteps Children's Services was born. So it was kind of born. So to begin with, it was Footsteps Nursery, and
Mhm.
then it was Footsteps Children's Services, which we started as a private limited company, um, because we just wanted to get set up and we needed to get going because we had a client base. Um, but then about 18 months in became a registered charity.
Mhm.
With hindsight, I would have done that quicker. Um, I'd never done it before. I had no idea what I was doing. I hadn't run a business. I'd always just worked for somebody else. I'd never been responsible for anything. So I
That's
had no
quite
idea what I was doing. So we kind of were about 18 months in and was like, right, we need to get registered charity status because we got hit with the corporation tax bill as well, which I didn't know anything about because I'd never done it before. And then got this bill going, well, this is non-profit making. Why am I paying this? And then obviously realized it needed charitable status and things to help with all of that as well. So yeah,
yeah.
so
That's
and it
quite
was
a
really,
journey to go
yeah,
from being an employee to running your own organization
yeah,
to steering it into being a charity.
yeah.
How did you manage that process? Because that sounds a little bit of a white knuckle ride.
It was. We had some support. The actual organization, the charity we were transitioning out of gave us 12 months transition support.
Oh,
So
nice.
they actually were brilliant.
Hmm.
So we got a lot of support from them and they provided some funding and things to draw people in. Back in the day, it was Project Northeast. I don't know if you remember them, but P&E were the people that helped us set up um, the new Footsteps
Hmm.
in its first form. So yeah. It was Footsteps Nursery, then it was Footsteps at Ashfield, then it became Footsteps Children's Services. It's had three different forms. So Project Northeast helped with the Footsteps to Ashfield bit. So they were key really in supporting us to do that.
And how did you find the process of going through the charity commission? Because I've heard mixed reviews recently, never mind sort of that long ago.
I think it was probably easier then than
Mhm.
what it is now to some degree. It seemed fairly seamless. We drew up our memo notes, we submitted them, we got them signed off, and that was it really. Back in the day. Everything you have to do with them since then is not so easy. At that point, you had a person you could ring
Yeah.
and you would have a conversation about your application and they would give you the guidelines of what you needed to do. And now there's no, everything's just done online. So I don't envy anybody
Mhm.
trying to do that right now. But
And
yeah, so
how did you pick your trustees?
um, well, just people that so our regional manager from the charity that we were originally connected with stepped in as a trustee. They were keen to do that and stay involved and be involved. And then there was a qualified teacher who worked with us really closely as a nursery, who didn't want the setting to be lost to the community. So she stepped in, and then I took on the trustee role as well. Because again, back in the day, then we with the person you could talk to at the Charities Commission, they kind of approved the fact that because I was already on payroll at that time, they allowed me to take on a role as a trustee.
Oh, right.
Um, it wasn't for very long. Like I actually resigned not long after because obviously, really, they prefer you not to be
Mhm.
employed.
Mhm.
But there was a little bit of wiggle room there. It was a really low turnover as well.
Yeah.
Um, we went from when I took the site on, or when I started with Footsteps, we had three children.
Mhm.
And we've now got five sites, catering for about 150 to 200
Wow.
families per academic year.
And what
Uh,
makes you guys unique then? Why did you feel that a charity structure made sense for a nursery setting for children's services?
yeah, because what we offer as children's services, we don't just offer nursery. I think that's the key difference. We do offer early years education. We are registered with Ofsted. We do have to do all of the things that every nursery does, but we also um, offer services like food bank and clothes bank. We do family support. We offer, we specialise in supporting children with special educational needs and disabilities. That's probably been within about the last 5 or 6 years. That's probably a bit longer than that, actually. COVID like knocks 3 years off everything, doesn't it?
Every time.
So it's probably been a bit longer than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've got more kind of specialist services.
Mhm.
And obviously we're not seeking to make any kind of profit. It is just any income that's raised goes back into the charity.
Fab. And how do you feel it's going as a charity? Do you feel that it's the right structure? Are you getting the support that you were hoping that you would as a charity? Has it been
Yeah,
through proper?
I think things are going great. It's kind of unrecognizable organization from where we started. Had no idea that it would kind of go this path,
Mhm.
or that we would still be here 20 years later, still doing this. Um, In terms of was the charity route the right route for us, I think it definitely was. I'll be honest and say there wasn't any other options at the time. Social enterprise and kicks and things just didn't exist then. So you were a private limited company or you were a charity,
Mhm.
or you could have both. So that's what we ended up having, both of those things. It's definitely the right fit for us. It's not like we're ever going to have a service that we're looking to sell to somebody. Our services, our target market is people that aren't going to be able to pay for a service. We're not going to have like an income generator quite in the same way as if you've got a product to sell.
Mhm.
Um, or even things like training courses and that kind of thing. That might be a different route if you want to do social enterprise or something. I think for us, the registered charity was the right fit and continues to be the right fit.
Brilliant. I'm just thinking back to the sort of the start of the conversation with the fact that this was a real true passion for you in terms of making
Yeah.
that difference. Do you feel that setting up this charity and running it now, has it scratched that itch for you, if you like? Do you feel that you're making that difference? You're contributing in the way that you can?
I do. I think it's really different. I think when I first set up, I was still very involved in service delivery.
Mhm,
So personally, I was still meeting with families. Personally, I was still seeing the immediate impact. Obviously, as the charity's expanded, then I lead the charity rather than doing any of the face-to-face delivery work. So I've had to make my peace with that really, and understand that we can reach far more families by me training people, releasing people, encouraging people, sharing the vision with other people for them to be able to deliver that than the amount of families I would ever have been able to reach by myself.
mhm,
So yes, it does. I also get an awful lot of satisfaction from the work I do with my team. So we recruit from the local community. And then obviously I invest in our team as well. So then I can see the development of them as people
mhm.
um, and professionals. So I get some joy from the service delivery element and from the development of the staff team as well.
And how many staff work for you now?
I've got 28 members of staff on roll at the moment. It goes between about 25 and 32, depending on on where we're at. But when I
Amazing.
first started, there was 5 of us. Um,
Crikey.
so
So it's
it's
been,
a
been
bit of a
quite a
journey.
journey.
It has been quite a journey.
So I wonder if you've got any advice or guidance, if you like, for anyone else that's interested in either setting up a charity or pursuing an organisation to support children, young people, families.
Yeah, just 2 seconds. Yes, I think the key thing really would be like know your why.
Hmm.
Um, I read something a number of years ago, and I can't quote the person because I can't remember where I read it, but I read something that said, if you know your why, you can survive almost any how.
Hmm.
And I think so much of our time is invested in how we are going to do A, B, and C, that we easily lose sight of the why we're doing what we do. We get caught up in the busyness of the work. We forget the why. We're driven by deadlines or targets or to-do lists. A lot of the training that we receive or that is offered is around business planning and your marketing plan and how will we finance what we do and how will we achieve X, Y, and Z. But before you get into the how, you have to know your why. Take a minute to do that, um, and to continually do that.
Hmm.
It's not just a setting up. You could be 10 years into your business and you need to remind yourself as to your why. I've got a little quote on my wall. Yeah, I've got a little board here. I'm a sucker for a quote. It says that great leaders don't set out to be a leader, they set out to make a difference, that it's not about the role, it's always about the goal. So whatever you're doing, it isn't just about creating a social enterprise or a business of purpose or a charity. It's about whatever you're drawn to or whatever your dream is to make the difference. It's always got to be about the goal and all of the decisions we make, because how we carry ourselves, how we treat other people, how we treat ourselves are all key points in kind of meeting our own goals. The why really, really matters, because if without the why, if I've done this for 20 years, without a why, it's just a to-do list. And what I found in 20 years is the to-do list never, ever ends. There'll always be to-do lists, there'll always be jobs that need to be done, there'll always be jobs that you don't like doing that have to be done. And it's only knowing the why that you can kind of remain wholehearted
Hmm.
in what you're trying to do. Once you know your why, you can almost survive anyhow. I
I
think.
love
So if
that.
I was to give anyone any advice, it would be spend some time understanding your why.
I wonder. I think that's so important, 100%. I think the why question has come up so much recently. I feel like the universe is trying to tell me something. But I wonder for you then on a practical level, what do you do? How frequently do you reflect on your why? Is it something that is it a scheduled thing or a practice that you do?
It's definitely not scheduled. Always when I'm on holiday. So
Mhm.
always if I'm on holiday, there has to be reflection time. Um, I'll probably come to the why a bit late sometimes because I sometimes get there once I'm overburdened and I'm overwhelmed. then I kind of go, oh, right now I need to stop and I need to go back and remember why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that'll be a beach walk, or it'll be something that just takes me out of the city, whether that's a drive out into the country or a walk along a beach somewhere, just to get some perspective, really. Um, yeah, at least I would say 3, 4 times a year.
Mhm.
I'm intentional about that. I'm intentional about trying to think about a vision board, thinking about the year ahead and what the kind of the goals for this year are. And a lot of those goals are as much about kind of my own personal development as they are about, the targets I want to reach for the charity. Because actually when you're a one person, it's important you're well,
Mhm.
because you can't actually lead other people or deliver on all your other targets if you um haven't kind of got yourself centered, if that makes sense. You can't, all the kind of statements that you can't pour from an empty cup, you can't give out, you can't achieve your goals if you're running on empty. So, and I'm saying that with, you know, knowing that I haven't cracked that.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not sitting here saying, oh, it's you must always be topped up and replenished and feeling wonderful, because I'm often on my knees.
Yeah.
I'm often going, oh, I just need to stop.
Mhm.
Um, and it would be, unauthentic really for me to sit here and say, oh, you've got to take time to reflect, because I know myself that that is a goal. It's an ongoing kind of wish. It's not something that I've cracked by any stretch of the imagination.
I 100% share that goal with you. I love how you put that. We understand that this is the lesson that we have to follow, but
Yeah,
crikey, doing it and practicing that on a regular basis is so
yeah.
hard when there's just one more thing, or just another
Just do this.
activity, or just
Just do
another,
this.
yeah, to sort of keep pulling you back into the day to day. So yeah, definitely agree with
Do you
that.
little the one thing that I did, I was away on holiday recently and I got back and I'd switched my email notifications off my phone when I was on holiday,
Mhm.
and then I put them back on again when I got back. And I was about a week in and went, no, no, they need to be switched off again. Because nobody needs every minute to have
Yeah.
something pop up on the screen to tell them something else they need to do.
Mhm.
You can log into your emails, you can check your emails, you can have periods when you do that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Actually,
switch off your notifications.
I was reading the 4 hour work week, which I mean is ambitious. That's never going to happen for me. I will always work more than 4 hours. But one of the tricks in it was around stacking those activities like your email. That we're all in this habit of it being that we're constantly available to everybody, either
Mhm.
through our phones, social media, emails, whatever. But actually protecting that time, I think, is really important. So yeah, I think that's a brilliant top tip there in terms of making sure that you're not constantly being pinged at from your emails as well. So the last thing I wanted to ask you then is you've got a bit of a stage here, if you like. I know we're a currently small community, but we're growing. So what would your request be to this community? How can they help you? Is there anything that they can do to support Footsteps?
Yes, I'm sure there is. I think I'm keen to connect with well-being businesses or services, both for to support families, but also for our team. They
Okay.
carry quite a heavy caseload and workload. So I'm always looking at things to be able to either signpost them to or to be able to support them with. So that's kind of one area. Really practical help. There's a couple of really practical ways that people could help. We're always looking for regular donations of toiletries and
Okay.
nappies and wipes. Because obviously our families are living in poverty. We do have a food bank. I'm a bit reluctant to ask for food bank stuff because just because of dates of things, it gets quite tricky. You don't want like a harvest festival feel when you get
Yeah.
like someone's tin of prunes from 2023.
Yeah.
I know people are generous. I don't mean that badly.
Mhm.
You understand what I mean by that. So we tend to do we buy the food bank stuff, and then the toiletries and nappies, if it could be donated, people can message me about that if they would like more information. And one really practical thing, if there's any people out there with any joinery skills, I've got a fence that needs fixing. So if
Ah,
there's anyone that can fix a garden fence in one of our nursery gardens, then obviously we'll supply all of the tools and the equipment, but not the tools. We'll supply all of the equipment. I haven't got
Take
any
that back. Take that
tools. I take that back. I haven't got any tools. But yes, any kind of equipment that's needed. We've just got a fence that needs repairing. So if anyone would like to have those skills, then that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Oh, I love a specific request. Can I just check with the nappies as well? Is this a specific age group or size?
Yeah, sizes 5 and 6 would be
Okay.
brilliant.
Cool. Cool. See, with a little one, I know these things now, that what you don't need is newborn nappies.
I don't need newborn nappies. No, I need 5 and 6.
Yeah, perfect. Brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much for taking the time to talk to us, Claire. And I know you're an active member of the community. So if people have got any questions, then feel free, ping them in the comments below, and I'm sure Claire will get back to you. But for now, thank you ever so much, Claire.
Thank you for asking me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for joining today's chat. If you'd like to be featured on the next series, please email hello@junctionpoint.co.uk. Speak to you soon.